Whoa, Jesus. Oh.
Hey pal, what do you think you're doing? You think you can just watch my video without cutting me in? I take offense to that, you know. This establishment was built with my own 2 hands, with blood, sweat, and tears. Alright, it was built with a mouse and keyboard, what of it? The way I see it, you owe me something for this fine experience. So I'm gonna make you an offer you can't refuse. Why don't you go ahead, hit that like button, and maybe show the Don some extra respect by subscribing. Much appreciated. I'm not Italian. Mafia, the Definitive Edition, is a remake of the 2002 video game called Mafia, the Indefinitive Edition. They weren't sure before, but now they are. This one is definitely Mafia. I bought this game on a Steam sale a while ago, and it has been sitting in my library for like a year, so when one of you degens commented and asked me to play it, I took that as a sign, and here we are. Thank you, username that popped up on your screen. This game is pretty rad. In Mafia, you play as Tommy Angelo, a cab driver that stumbles into working for Don Salieri. The game takes place over several decades in which you see Tommy work his way up from simple driver all the way up to the Don's right-hand man. Along the way, you face everything you would expect to face when you're in the Mafia. There's guys in suits shooting at you, fast cars, more guys in suits shooting at you, and if you can believe it, there's even guys in suits shooting at you. That was actually surprisingly difficult to record. Try it yourself. Guys in suits shooting you. Guys in suits shooting you. Guys in suits. I can't do it. Anyways, it's definitely the Mafia, and this game doesn't let you forget it. Everything you do, everyone you talk to, Mafia. This isn't really a bad thing. I'm just saying Mafia.
Break every bone in their bodies, put them in wheelchairs, bust their faces up so bad even their mothers can't look at them without screaming.
Before I get too far into this, I want to say to the developers, this is the kind of remake we want. A game where the original is so old that it just doesn't hold up anymore, or is nearly impossible to find due to being discontinued, licensing agreements, etc., etc. Stop remaking games that are 5 years old. Please, remake more things like this. Okay, back to Mafia. The gameplay here is pretty simple. You can tell this is based on a 23-year-old game, but it doesn't hinder the experience. You can't expect it to have all the bells and whistles of modern games, and what that gives you is a pared down, back to basics, video game-ass video game. The story is broken down into 20 chapters, each of which are essentially one job that you do for the Don. Most of them play out exactly the same way. You have a meeting with the Don, he tells you to go somewhere, steal something, kill someone, etc. To do that, you only get a small handful of weapons: a revolver, pistol, shotgun, Tommy gun, a rifle, and a couple melee weapons. Nothing is upgradable, they just are what they are. That sounds a bit dull, but trust me, it's not. The voice acting and motion capture have been completely remade top to bottom. They didn't reuse anything, and it has really turned this into a captivating cat and mouse mafia saga. In between carrying out hits and squeezing rackets, you find yourself a wife, hang with the boys, and even go racing. More on that in a bit. I won't lie, this isn't the Last of Us level Oscar-worthy story that makes you cry buckets at the end. But it is a neat package that keeps you entertained, and it pushes you to do just one more mission before bed. It's an action movie in video game format. You can think of it like Uncharted, but Italian, with one big difference. The gameplay is extremely linear, just like Uncharted, but it all takes place in a surprisingly big open world. Again, this is based on a game from 2002, so it's not GTA 5, it's not that big, but it's big enough that it never feels cramped. There's 3 sections of city: industrial, commercial, and residential, plus a huge rural section with an airport and a dam, and this is where we run into our first bit of weirdness. My millennial audience will know this already, but for the younger guys, open world video games weren't always the way they are now. It took a while for them to figure out the formula, and this game comes from before they figured it out. The campaign in Mafia doesn't really allow for exploration. It's a linear, unbroken story that happens within an open world, and aside from a few collectibles, there's really nothing to do in the world outside of the campaign. If you really want to explore, there's a free roam mode, but that's really all it is. You can drive around, you can fight with the police, that's about it. There's no side missions, no bases to conquer, really no side content at all. But one thing that big open map does is it really lets you test out all the cars. There's over 50 cars in this game, all period correct-ish, except 2 which are from the sequels. That's a little weird because you got a car from the 50s and a car from the 60s and you're driving it in the 30s. But whatever, you can just ignore those if you want to. All the cars are made up brand and model names, but can you really tell the difference between a 1924 Ford and a 1924 Chevy? I didn't think so. When you start the game for the first time, it gives you two options for handling: arcade and simulation. I chose simulation because I didn't want the Don to think I was going soft, and I'm also a huge car nerd. This is where I'm going to put in a warning for the newbies. If you aren't experienced with racing games, choose arcade. It's okay, I won't tell the Don. When this game came out, there was a lot of chatter about the racing mission being really hard, and I can now say definitively that it's because you schmucks can't drive. Everyone thinks they're a good driver, but most people just aren't. When this game says simulation, it means it. Race cars in the 1930s were basically a steering wheel strapped to an engine on some bicycle tires, and many of them only had brakes on the rear wheels. There was no traction control, no ABS, no computer gizmos to save you if you do something stupid. This isn't Mario Kart, and the car will do whatever stupid thing you tell it to do. If that hasn't convinced you to choose arcade, then I'll give you a tip. Easy on the gas, easy on the brakes. Smooth is fast. If you mash the triggers, you're gonna crash. But take it easy through the corners, and you'll beat it no problem. I beat it on my first try, and if you don't as well, you lose, sucker.
Cow says moo and the chicken says quack.
The only thing I don't like about the cars in this game is the best ones are inaccessible until you finish the story. Once the campaign is over, you can unlock 5 hidden cars that you have to find in the world from some postcards they give you. But like I said before, once the campaign is done, the game is done. So you get these awesome cars, and there's just nothing to do with them. Pretty lame. As for glitches, this game was toyed like a tiger, mostly. I encountered only 1 or 2 geometry glitches, so gameplay-wise, this is about as good as it gets. The biggest problem I had was to do with the Steam interface of the game. I played on PC with a DualSense controller, which is not officially supported by the game, so Steam does some witchcraft in the background to make it work, and it did work, sort of. The one issue being that in the tutorial of the game, the little button prompts that come up to tell you what to do and how to play the game were blank. So I had to figure out all the combat and driving controls just by guessing, which was fun. I realize that's more of a me problem than a game problem, but hey, I just report what I find. So, Mafia Definitive Edition is definitely Mafia. It beats you over the head with Italians, has you whack the bad guys, and there's even a guy named Luigi. It has excellent storytelling, surprisingly accurate car physics, and a weirdly empty open world. It's a rebuilt and remade relic from 2002. It feels modern, but somehow still old. This is a short game. I beat it in around 10 hours, but it was a good time through and through. If you want to play Uncharted but Italian, this game is for you. Definitely.
Don Salieri wants you to know that he's very grateful. So if you ever need anything, maybe a loan or some honest work, don't hesitate to ask. Don doesn't forget his friends.